Hello everyone, this is Alazir Chess here to help you to realize your potential. And today I have 3 games that I would like to show you in this Miss Morra, as well as an announcement a little bit later in the video. And I have a new microphone here, which is a Blue Yeti that I just bought. It's plug and play. The other microphone that I showed in the other video was given to me by a friend, which I appreciate, and I could have used it, but I would also have had to install drivers and do other stuff, and I'm a technological moron, so this is a lot easier for me. Now, please let me know in the comments what I could use on the settings for the Blue Yeti to make the audio as best as possible, but for now, I'm going to be filming a video with it. Let me know what you think of the audio, and let me know what I could do to improve it again, if the settings are not to you, the viewer's liking. So let's get into it. I'm going to be going over a game against a candidate master named Jox. That's 2409 on eChess, and Jox is 2212 in real life from Germany. Name is Dr. Jens Nebel. Also, I'm going to be going over a game from Chesslov, and Chesslov is 2436. And I'm going to be going over a game from BTSJ 2000, who's a 2500 plus player on eChess. So first, let's start with Jox, the candidate master, and we have our trusty Miss Morra, and here we have all the mainline stuff, and after queen to b8 here, what I should have done was played knight to a4. It's the idea that after b5, bishop to b3, if takes, to prevent knight to b6, then takes, and here I'm going to regain the piece, and I'm also going to have a 2-to-1 queenside majority. Also here, in the event of knight to d7 to cover b6, and if I take the knight here, and then they take the knight on a4, taking would regain the material for me, and if something like castling, rook to c3 is just a good move for me, because I can pile up on the c file, as well as play rook to b3 in some cases. And here, bishop to b7, completing the development of the minor pieces and connecting the back row is not possible due to the knight on d7 hanging. So black is going to need a few more tempi here. But I played a3 here because I was not aware that knight to a4 was a good move here. So after castling, knight to d4 was my follow-up. I should have potentially played b4 to be consistent, but I was in between plans here mentally. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. And here knight to e5 was played, but it would have been better for my opponent to play bishop to d7, getting out that last minor piece, or knight takes knight in order to trade a set of minor pieces. And because black has less space and less development, trading a set of pieces would generally be a good idea for black. But after knight to e5, bishop to a2, preserving pieces, I do have a space advantage here, although I don't have this nice center pawn on the d file. But I need to keep pieces on in order to compensate for what my position lacks, which is the center pawn. I need to try to get an attack going. So after b5, h3, in order to hold the g4 square, and after bishop to b7, f4, and here my opponent should have played knight c4, and that would hit the bishop on e3. Also, the bishop and knight on b7 and f6 are ganging up on e4, so I would have to play bishop f2. And black is better here due to the extra pawn, but instead black played knight c6, and now I can swap pieces, and here play bishop to d4. This puts some pressure on the middle of the board. Potentially being able to play e5 now is an idea, but here my opponent should play queen b7, just not fearing this idea. And here, black would be perfectly fine. And it's better to do this so this way you don't touch the e6 pawn because you don't want to elongate the scope of the bishop on a2, which is what my opponent did in the game. And now after pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, bishop to f2, here everything is protected, and my opponent played queen to b7 now, which does not help his case. Now I have knight to d5, with the idea of if you do something silly, I could take the bishop as check, and then I could take this bishop, this winning a piece. Also possible is after rook takes bishop, if you play knight takes, I could take with this bishop, and if you play queen takes, I can play knight takes with a check, and then I can take your queen. So here, after knight to d5, my opponent played bishop takes. Pawn takes here is not very good due to bishop to d6, protecting e5. Also, the knight could go back to e8, and this bishop and knight could switch places at some point in the future, potentially. So here, I take with the light squared bishop, and now the queen and the rook are hit, and black is forced to swap out his knight. And the knight is a great kingside defender. Now that knight is gone, and I'm able to establish a passed pawn on d5, which also gives me an anchor square on c6. So after bishop to d6, rook c6, rook fd8, double up trouble up on the c file, and here after f6, queen to e4. Now I'm in the center on the light squares, and here queen to f7 was played, which is a grave mistake. Black had to play rook a to c8, getting in and challenging on the c file, and now if I were to move away something silly, this rook would hang with check. Therefore, rook a c8 is the best move for black in an attempt to hold. But after queen to f7, bishop to b6 hits this rook on d8, which is now lost. But my opponent didn't want to give it up. He tried rook d7, and after rook c8 check, I'm attacking the rook on a8, forcing a swap. And after bishop to f8, bishop c5, the game is over. Now here after rook takes d5, rook takes bishop check, queen takes. I could have played queen takes on d5, and after queen f7, queen d8, queen f8, queen takes would have been mate, but I didn't see that. I didn't look for it for whatever reason. I just simply snatched the queen. And this game goes on for a number of moves, but the result is never in doubt, as you can see from the evaluation. I'm just going to push the pawn, exchange the prisoners here on e3 and b7. Now I still have an outside pass pawn. And here, after check, here g4, king to h4 runs into queen h6 mate. So here, black took, and after check, king h4 takes the rook, and the game is over in a few more moves. The rest is easy peasy. Now, this was played with 96% accuracy to 90% accuracy. Jox is a candidate master when you check the account from Germany. And now we're going to move on to the game against Cheslov, 24-36. And we have our trusty Smith's Morra again. We have d6 this time. And then e6, the Skevin engine setup. And after a6, castles b5, bishop b3. We have the Chicago defense, which is characterized by rook a7 going for rook to d7. Here you can see that the computer thinks that this is a terrible idea. So after bishop to e3, rook d7, I should have played knight g5 here, and going for a sacrifice on e6, as well as f4, f5 ideas, cracking open this diagonal on e6 and f7 for the bishop and for the knight, and also potentially for the queen, if the queen can come in to the kingside right squares. And as you can see here, knight to g5 is a very strong option, but I played I played rook to c1, excuse me, and after knight to f6, again knight to g5 is a very strong option, but Instead, I played queen to e2, which is not as good because it's not really threatening anything. But at least I am completing my development and getting ready to bring the rook to the center if need be. So here after bishop to b7, knight to g5 now, b4, knight a4, aiming at b6, and after the swap on e4, knight b6, and the game is over. Rook c7, otherwise the rook is going to go to c8, and you're going to lose material potentially. I mean, what can you do here if something like queen to f6? Then knight takes the rook on d7, rook c8 is also playable, and then after king to e7, you can take the knight on b8, and if something like rook to d8, we have bishop to a4 here, knight to d7, bishop's going to take, or knight's going to take hitting the queen, and if king to e7 here, then we have rook c7 back, and this is just absolutely terrible. But here, after knight b6, we have rook c7, a swap out, rook c1, queen b7, rook c8 check, king e7, only move basically unless you want to lose your queen, bishop to g5 check, now f6 is forced, and now queen c4, hitting e6, threatening mate in 1, and after king to f7, rook c7 check, king to g6, rook takes queen, bishop takes rook, bishop back to e3, d5, protecting e6, but not covering your pieces, and now you're going to lose another piece, so black resigned. And this was played with 90% accuracy to 77% accuracy. The computer didn't like some of my moves, not liking the fact that I missed knight g5, which is understandable, but then also not caring for the fact that I played queen to c4 here instead of bishop to e3 right away, or here after queen c4, king f7, the fact that I didn't take on e6, but I did not feel like looking for a forced mate somewhere is necessary, because, well, why bother when I can just cleanly win the queen and the game is over on the spot. So now we're going to go to our final game against BTSJ 2000, and this player is 2506, at least at the time of this game, and this was played with 96% accuracy to 71% accuracy, and right now BTSJ is over 2500 still. So this is a very strong player. They've actually moved up to 2554 at the time of this recording. So here, e4, we have our Smith's Morra, and we have d5 here, which transposes back into the Panov-Botvinnik attack in the Caro-Kann. And here we have an IQP position, which I'm trying to get better at playing these positions, especially with white. I do play them somewhat now with black from the Franco-Sicilian or the French defense. And here I liquidated the pawn immediately. And the idea is that after takes, bishop takes, I'm fine here. Also after takes, instead of bishop takes knight, queen takes is also fine. And what are you going to do here? After knight c6, bishop to e3, I'm good. And if bishop to f6, I could take on c6, and then bishop to d4 basically liquidates into a forced drawing line. Although black does have one more weakness than I do in the weak pawn on c6, but black also has a half-open b file to use, and this should be drawn without too much trouble with proper play from black and from myself. So here, this would be really nothing to play for on a serious note. And here, after d5, my opponent didn't do any of that. They blundered with e5, which is given as a mistake by the engine, but this move basically just loses the game, so we could give this move a big old question mark, Because after h3, if bishop 2h5, g4, bishop g6, knight takes, I'm basically winning. I'm up a pawn, and I have nice space. Black cannot comfortably finish development. And here, in the game continuation, bishop takes knight was played. And after queen takes, bishop to d6, knight to e4, knight to a6, because knight b8 to d7 is not playable due to knight takes bishop, winning a piece. So knight to a6, both of the knights are on the rim. Bishop to g5 comes, and here f6 is forced, but it was not played in the game, which is understandable due to the positional weakening. And also here, you can't play f5 to try to kick my knight out of e4 due to knight g5 to e6, which is extremely problematic. But after knight a6, bishop g5, queen to d7, the game is now over due to knight to f6 check. Hitting the king and hitting the queen. After pawn takes knight, bishop takes. I'm threatening mate in 2 with queen g3, forcing queen g4 to block, and then queen takes queen as mate. And after e4, queen h5, I now have a new square to mate you from on g5. So after bishop to f4 to cover the g5 square, g3. Here my opponent played queen to d6, and here we have, as King's Crusher would put it, the weakness of the last move, which is queen to g4, check, and after bishop g5, queen takes bishop as mate, and the game is over. So after queen to g4, my opponent resigned. My opponent had been hoping for pawn takes bishop, and then after queen takes bishop, here my opponent would survive and is up a piece, and the game would continue with black going on to win more than likely here. But fortunately we don't have any of that because we have queen g4 due to weakness of the last move, and black resigned. And again, we have 96% accuracy here. Let me know what you guys think of these games in the comment section. Also, please let me know again about the microphone and what would be the best settings for me to utilize for your audio comfort. Also, announcement, I'm doing a tournament on Lichess this Friday at 4 p.m. New York time, and I live in Brooklyn, New York for you guys, so this way you can get your time zones straightened when it comes to the tournament. I would like to hold it Friday at 4 p.m. New York time, and I would like for everyone to message me on Lichess, so this way you can join the tournament. Excuse me. And if you send me your username, then I can keep it to only subscribers of the channel so that we don't have any outsiders joining the tournament, and I can feature you guys individually and invite you, so this way it's just me and all of you in the event. So please send me a message on Lichess if you would like to join the tournament, and then I could interact with you guys, send you guys messages, play some games with you, and also give you guys some pointers and feedback if you lose. Or if we draw, like we could discuss the games, and if you win some games, then we could also discuss that, because you'll be teaching me a thing or two. And that would also be nice, because that would mean that I get to learn something. So, again, message me on Lichess, and it's Alazir Chess YT on Lichess. Thank everyone for watching, and remember to realize your potential, keep getting better every day, and keep studying, keep pushing. And have a great night or day wherever you're watching from. Peace.